I don't either. Let's check back on Hijab.
Probably not the verses that we read. Actually, definitely not the verses that we read that are speaking about Lot having sex with his daughters. Yeah? Definitely not those verses.
Yeah, earlier in the stream, he brought up that, and he's like, you see these guys? They call Lot a prophet. No, we don't. The Bible never says Lot was a prophet.
He said that?
All this... Yeah, he says earlier in the stream.
What an idiot,
video.
Man.
Yeah, doesn't understand how Christianity works, doesn't understand how the Bible works. The Bible never says Lot is a prophet. That's an Islamic idea that we reject. Lot was not a prophet, and we do not support all his decisions. It's just him, once again, reading the Bible with Islamic principles in mind and not with Christian ones.
Really not those verses. And one of those things, which is very, very clear, which shows you why and how the Quran.
Why wouldn't he prepare?
The Quran clearly obviously, doesn't want you to accept the entirety of the biblical corpus.
Even though he says you have to believe in all of it, not just parts. But he means the opposite because he's stupid.
Can you please rewind this IP to where he starts this again?
When I first watched this, dude, I thought I missed something because he takes like 45 seconds just to say one thing. He
wasn't ready. He wasn't ready.
Yeah,
I didn't know what he wanted to say.
Which shows you why and how the Quran clearly and obviously, doesn't want you to accept the entirety of the biblical corpus.
Hold on. Pause. Think about this. The Quran clearly
and obviously,
when it says, if you only believe in parts and not all of your book, I will send you to hell. It's clearly saying only believe in parts. It's clearly saying it by saying the exact opposite. That's just how Allah speaks. Guys, I mean, this is like borderline insane.
Yeah.
It's the Quran is clearly saying, clearly, it's saying the exact opposite of what it actually says. And all his fans, our hero.
No, David, you don't understand. It's clearly saying what Mohammed Hijab is saying because it's impossible that the Quran would contradict itself.
It's possible, yes.
Nice.
Yep. Very rude of the Quran to contradict itself.
Very rude, man.
Very rude,
The corrections. The Quran corrects the Bible.
Where?
Hello?
Where?
Quran corrects it.
Where?
I'll give you an example.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. We're going to get it.
And hang on. It's the Quran is going to say, and we're correcting this scripture because the scripture's wrong, right?
Yes, it's going to say that.
Good.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
Corrects it. But it corrects it where it shows this authorial, or it shows that there's a conscious correction, actually.
Oh,
that
there we go.
The author knows what's in the biblical corpus.
There we go.
And is correcting it. As an example, the book of Exodus says God, just like Genesis, rested on the seventh day. But Exodus says, and he refreshed as well. Nafash. That's what it says. Now the Quran in chapter 50, in Surah Al-Qaf, Allah says, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقَنَا السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا فِي سِتَّةِ أَيَّامٍ وَمَا مَسَّنَا مِنْ لُغُوبٍ. That certainly we have created the heavens and the earth and what is in between them in 6 days, and no tiredness touched us. So clearly this is a repudiation of that which is in the biblical text. There are conscious edits. That's
What is wrong?
I didn't hear a verse like a reference.
What, really? Obviously, it's so clear. Logic.
He was supposed to demonstrate where the Quran is saying, hey guys, this in your Torah, this is incorrect. This is what really happened. Allah created the earth and never rested, never was refreshed, like it says in the Torah. That part's wrong. It didn't say that.
Let me put this on screen, because if you just go to the verse, luckily the scholars have added a footnote here to help. Okay, so some scholars believe, this verse comes in response to Exodus 31:17. So the correction is there. It's in the footnote by the scholars, not in the words of Allah. Nay. It's from the scholars, though. Luckily, they've come in and put a Band-Aid on the words of Allah and have luckily fixed it for Allah. So now we know this is talking about that. Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna just be real.
Who's the we?
Well, Stan, the
You're not
Quran
gonna-
is correcting the prior scriptures. He's adding it in there so we know Allah is a multiplicity, okay? Obviously. Anyway, continue.
Yeah,
It's
you're gonna
clear the Quran is correcting the Bible.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go to a modern Muslim to find out why Allah says we, because this was brought up to Muhammad by the Christians of Najran, and Allah's response was Surah 3:7. Hey, there are things in the Quran that aren't clear.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's one of them. That's one of the things that's not clear. Why Allah uses plural pronouns.
So just to get back on this, so the Quran says he wasn't touched by fatigue.
Who's fatigue?
I don't remember God saying that he was fatigued after he created the heavens and the earth in Exodus. So it doesn't say that. And nowhere do we see a reference to the Torah anywhere here in the like not just this verse, the context. We don't see it mentioning, hey, this, because for example, if you go to chapter 5, verse 44, really quick. I'm sorry, 45. 5:44.
You got it.
Because the Quran is perfectly capable of doing this, guys.
Here we go. We ordained for them in the Torah a life for a life, an eye for an eye, a nose for a nose, and an ear for an ear, and a tooth for a tooth, and for wounds equal retaliation. But whoever waves is charitably. It will be atoned for them, and those who do not judge by what Allah has revealed are truly the wrongdoers. So here we see.
That's Exodus 21. So the Quran is perfectly capable of saying, hey guys, in the Torah it says this. This is what it is. In the Torah it says this. We see this in with the Psalms as well. He does this with the Psalms. You know, we wrote in the Zabur of David, and then it quotes Psalm 37. So in chapter 48, it says this parable or whatever is in the Torah and the gospel or whatever. It's perfectly capable of telling us what's in there, right? Where are they getting this from in chapter 50 that this is in the Torah? It doesn't say that anywhere. It doesn't even hint to that.
Yeah, guys. In other words, how do you know Muhammad didn't hear some Jew saying, "Yeah, God created the universe and rested," and Muhammad's responding to that, not realizing where it comes from, as he frequently does. In other words, guys, so think about the problem here. According to Mohammed Hijab, this verse in Surah 50 is telling us not to believe in parts of the Torah, right? It's saying, do not believe in this part of the Torah, even though I'm not saying that this is in the Torah. But people who know the Torah will know where this actually came from. But, so again, it's saying just believe in the parts that line up with Islam, and this is part that doesn't line up with Islam. Therefore, do not believe this part of the Torah. Why does he say in Surah 2, verse 85, if you only believe in parts and not in all of it, I'll send you to hell? How? Like, in other words, and however you're going to interpret any of these verses, it has to be consistent with what the rest of the Quran says. And if the Quran says in the clearest verse on whether it's talking about parts or all of it, the clearest verse in the entire Quran says he's talking about all of it. You have to believe in all of it, and he'll send you to hell if you don't believe in all of it. And then Hijab goes to a verse which doesn't even mention the book, doesn't claim to be correcting the book, doesn't even show it's aware of the book. Could have heard this from any random Jew. And he says, there, you see, he's saying he only affirms parts, and you have to reject the parts that don't line up with Islam. And he's clearly consciously correcting it. It's like, okay, as long as you throw out other verses of the Quran, so what are you doing? You're just believing in parts, dude. You're just believing in parts. Oh, and hey, let me one more rule, because Muslims don't just never seem to understand the most basic rules of interpreting scripture. One of the most fundamental rules, my Muslim friends, is you don't sacrifice the clear for the sake of the unclear. If you have a verse and it's open to multiple interpretations, you don't pick the one you like and then use that to go against and to contradict clear verses, right? If you have a verse and it has, let's say, 5 different interpretations, and you've got another verse that's crystal clear, on which interpretation is correct, you go with the interpretation that lines up with the clear verse. What do? You have two, you have two, Surah 2, verse 85. It's as clear as anything in the Quran. Jews have to believe in all of their book, not just part of it. What does Hijab do? He goes over here where the Quran doesn't even mention a book, but he's saying, hey, it's contradicting the book, therefore it's consciously doing that. Why? Where does it say that it's correcting a book?
Yeah.
How is it just not contradicting some guy that Muhammad heard? How do you know it's contradicting the book? So you have multiple possible interpretations available. And what does he do? He gives it the one that he wants. Oh, the Quran is saying that parts are wrong. Parts of the Torah are wrong. And then he uses that to throw out the clear verse, which says you have to believe in all of it, not just parts. This is insane. It's pick any basic rule of interpreting a text. They throw it all out just to avoid the Islamic dilemma. It's crazy.
What are the Jews and Christians at the time of Muhammad supposed to judge by? Did I upset Mike because I'm asking a logical question again?
Yes, and you're not getting it.
No, I'll be right back. I got to take care of something. So do that, and I'll
Okay.
do some super chats for
Well, so seriously though, what would Mohammed Hijab say here? Because when the Quran tells Jews and Christians to judge by what they have, but if the Quran is only affirming parts of it, why isn't it telling the Jews and Christians that that's the case?
His response would be, you're judging by the parts that agree with the Quran. Does the Quran say that?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't say that anywhere, not even in the slightest. But that's what it means. That's what it means. So, yeah. Judged by the gospel, by what Allah has revealed in it. Really, it's judged by the gospel, by what what agrees with the Quran.
Yep.
And whatever.
And then
you're a wrongdoer.
And then use those parts to believe in the Quran. So yeah, you use the Quran to pick out the parts that are reliable, and then you use those reliable parts to believe in the Quran. Obviously, fan, come on. And we brought that up to Dean Responds when he came into our channel, and he said that's just obviously not circular reasoning. So it's okay. So because he said that must not be. Yeah.
Come on.
I know it's brain breaks every time we go through this. I know. Anyway, let's see what Mohammed Hijab is doing.
That's what the term in intertextuality, or let's say the biblical term is. But I would use the term conscious corrections. There are conscious corrections.
Oh, did you come up with that yourself?
There are conscious corrections. The Quran is consciously correcting.
Where does it say that?
Give you another example.
Can Allah just say it once? Can Allah just say it once, Mohammed Hijab? Can he say it once? Can he say what you're saying once? Because if he can't and he doesn't, and you're saying the opposite of what he says, and then you're saying that here's what he's really doing, and he never says that, you're adding to the Quran and telling us to believe you over the Quran. And you just don't seem to care that he says you're going to hell for that.
Innovator. Bidda.
Innovator. Pretty rude.
In the book of Exodus, Harun commits shirk. Okay, he commits shirk.
Guys, just so you know, he's about to go there. He thinks this is the Quran correcting the Bible. Here we go.
All right. According to us, it wasn't Harun that done it. It was a person called a Samiri. وَأَضَلَّهُمُ السَّامِرِي. It's mentioned in chapter 20 of the Quran.
Oh, a Samaritan in Moses' time. Nice.
It's absolving Aaron of shirk. If you take a look at Genesis,
it absolves Aaron from committing shirk by blaming a non-existent Samaritan. Nice.
A Samaritan. People who didn't exist. And so the Bible isn't even aware of time travel. And yet we know from the Quran that Allah is saying that later on, after the Samaritans became a people, one of them got the time machine and traveled back. And then he did this, you see. So the Quran is consciously correcting the Bible on time travel.
Nice.
And just for those wondering, it doesn't. You're like, well, it doesn't say Samaritan in English. That's the word for Samaritan in Arabic. But to hide that from you, the translators try to make it a name, and they say, "Oh, it's his name, Samari." And this is the same thing Sheikh Uthman tried when he replied to Coley on this. But if we just go look at, I don't know, Ibn Kathir. That's not what he says. He says it's the Samaritan, and his name was Musa bin Zafar. He was from the village of Samaria. So he's the Samaritan named Musa bin Zafar from the village of Samaria. And this is, again, why we see him. Again, you can see he is the Samaritan. The Quran is not saying a name there. It's literally in the Arabic, the Samaritan. But they try to hide that in the translation here. It's the Samaritan. So this is, guys, this is the Quran correcting the Bible by placing a Samaritan in the time of Moses. Wow, thanks, Allah. You sure corrected that. Way to go. Good job. Pretty bad. Yeah. That's what Mohammed Hijab went to. What are you gonna say?
No, I was gonna ask a stupid question.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna save myself the pain.
But this is one of Mohammed Hijab's go-to examples to show where the Quran is correcting the Bible. Even in the arguments he's using, he's showing errors in the Quran. Pretty bad.
If you take a look at Genesis, you will find that, the story of Joseph is mentioned. He had a dream that his mom and his dad were prostrating to him and his brothers. But his mother, according to Genesis, died before the fulfillment of this dream, which is, by the way, an internal biblical contradiction. It is an internal biblical contradiction, because how could there be a fulfillment of? Why did he dream that the sun and the moon were prostrated if their mother was not even alive? The fulfillment of the dream is not actualized.
Why does Allah say to believe in all of a book that contains this internal contradiction?
Pretty rude of Allah to do
I don't get it.
I think that this would be a good example where the Muslim difficult decision between two alternatives can come into play. I think that way of arguing might come in handy in this part.
So it actually doesn't say that. Let me pull up Logos here, and I'll show you what I mean. It doesn't actually say that his mother was still alive. Hijab needs to check the text. So here, I'll just make this full screen. Hold up. There we go. All right. So what we read here is that Joseph has a dream. He dreamed another dream. It was told to his brothers, "Behold, I have dreamed another dream. Behold, the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars were bowing to me." But he told it to his father and to his brothers. His father rebuked him and said to him, "What is this dream you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves to the ground before you?" Notice who's talking. It's Joseph. And the way I've always understood this was first of all, God doesn't say that's the interpretation of the dream. This is Jacob responding to his son Joseph's dream. And it seems as though Jacob is being rhetorical. Like, this is impossible. We're not going to do this. I mean, like your mother's not even here. She's dead. There's no way she could be that. So this is his interpretation of the dream. And even some rabbis said this about this. I looked this up. Even some rabbis looked at this and they're like, yeah, this is him basically being rhetorical and saying this is impossible because Rachel's dead at this point. There's no way she could do that. But even if that is, you could just look at commentaries on this, which again, not a big issue, whereas they basically point out that it would be let me scroll up here to get to you that. But so yeah, since Joseph's birth mother Rachel had previously died, the reference to his mother must be taken as a reference to his stepmother Leah, which could be a fine interpretation of the dream because she would be like the matriarch of the family at that point for sure. And that she could be the moon in that sense. God never contradicts this interpretation. That's just Jacob's quick off the hand reading of it. And he seems to be trying to refute it more than anything. But again, God never says that. So Hijab has not actually checked the verse. He's not actually checked the commentaries. He just assumed that's what it was saying. But again, Jacob making that offhand comment as sort of like a rhetorical move doesn't mean that that's what God is confirming. So he has read too much in there to try to force a biblical contradiction that is not there, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty easy.
Pretty easy. Easy peasy.
Mm-hmm.
Until at the end of it, both the mother and the father prostrating to him. So clearly, it was a conscious edit.
Where does it say that in Surah 12?
Just once. Can Allah ever, even once in his entire book, say what you claim he's clearly doing just once? Hijab doesn't get it. He's just affirming one part of the dilemma, right? It's the Quran affirms the inspiration, the preservation, and the authority of the Jewish and Christian scriptures. All of it, all of it, all of it. You have to believe in all of it. But the Quran contradicts and disagrees with the Jewish and Christian scriptures on various things and on major doctrines. And therefore, Islam self-destructs. And he's saying, look right here. The Quran disagrees with your book. It says something different from your book. Yeah, we could give examples all day of the Quran disagreeing with our book. But since the Quran affirms it, Islam self-destructs. How are you not getting this? This is weird stuff, man.
Yeah.
It was a conscious correction. There is correction happening from the Quran. The author of the Quran. It doesn't matter
and
if
as long as I say it like this, they'll believe
you have
me.
To admit
as long as I say it like this, what are you doing?
No matter if you're secular, if you're a materialist, you have to admit that the author of the Quran, knew what was in the Bible, knew what was being said by Christians and Jews, and was correcting it.
What you actually find in the Quran itself is that Muhammad was called the ear, and everyone around him accused him of just taking what people are telling him and saying that he just believes what he's hearing from the people around him. So why would you look at what the Quran itself repeatedly says, namely that the people around him accused him repeatedly of just getting stuff he's hearing from other people? Why would you think that somehow this means he's aware of the actual contents of the Torah and the gospel? Why would you think that? If the Quran itself is saying, hey, all the people are accusing him of just hearing from other people and getting his stuff from other people and being taught by other people and then passing them off as revelations, if that's what's going on according to the Quran itself, why are you saying that the only way, even if you're secular, the only interpretation here is that Muhammad or the author of the Quran really, really has a lot of detailed knowledge of what's in the Torah? Why? Why would we think that? And not Muhammad is hearing from someone, as the Quran says. I don't know.
It. I've given you 3 examples here,
Awesome.
I've given you 3 examples. 2 guys that do a fantastic job with this. Of course, John Fontaine has done a great job with Grapus Wood in his debate on this issue. But his Orthodox response, Orthodox Muslim. Orthodox Muslim and Dean responds.
And
These 2 guys, I spoke to them.
Yeah, they did a great job training you, Mohammed Hijab.
Right. Yeah. And here's the thing. John Fontaine and Dean Respond's position is they're mutually exclusive. They contradict each other because John Fontaine would disagree with Mohammed Hijab here and say, no, confirm means to confirm. It means confirm wholesale these prior documents. He just thinks that's not our Bible. It's not our Torah and Gospel. It's these lost documents history never knew. So he contradicts Mohammed Hijab, whereas Mohammed Hijab will say, yeah, it's talking about our scriptures, but it confirm doesn't actually mean confirm. So they contradict each other. The 2 solutions he's offering here, they can't work together. They're completely contradictory, and everything he has said in this would contradict what John Fontaine has said about the word confirm, about what the Quran is actually saying. So why is he now saying John Fontaine's got a good position? You've just contradicted everything John Fontaine has argued for, Mohammed Hijab.
It's because
It's because what?
He's a Muslim.
Yeah.
He's a Muslim. They're cousins.
Yeah, I have to say, IP, you don't know one of the basic rules in Islam. It's 2 terrible responses that don't work and contradict everything we know somehow add up to a good response.
That's very true.
That's the rule. Here, we give you one response, it doesn't work. Here's another response, it doesn't work. Both responses contradict everything we know, and they contradict each other. Therefore, you see, put them together, and you got a great response.